Some of you will be very familiar with this area. This is Marramarra National Park. I'm following the Marramarra Ridge down to the Marramarra campsite. It's my first backpacking or bikepacking adventure. So Santa Claus was very nice to me this year. He bought me a ultra small, ultra light tent, which I'm going to be using. I've got some freeze-dried meals and I'm going to spend the evening down by the water. Not sure how well this camera is going to show it on the way in, but it's basically all downhill. As far as I'm aware, it's less than 300 meters of descent and about 8 kilometers of travel, so not far in, not too deep. However, I believe on the way out that 300 meters is going to count because it's pretty steep. Tell you what, these hills are a lot harder when you're carrying a full set of gear, 4 or 5 liters of water and 3 meals worth of food. Gee, a little bit slow to go up. G'day, how you doing? How are you? So we left the cars behind and now we're on the really rough trail. How you doing? How are you? It's steep. I forgot how steep it was. I do remember collapsing on it because I ran out of energy. Oh, isn't this a delight? So if I haven't said it already, this is the Marramarra National Park and we're going down to the Marramarra campground. Yeah, that hill there I've just come up, hence the helmet's off because I just walked up it. But it should, so far so good actually. It's been pretty reasonable. It's only about 8 k's in. Got a fairly heavily laden bike, so it's slow, but it's going to be fun. So let's talk you through the bike. So here we've got a Giant Trance 2019. It's got a 1x SLX gear set, hydraulic brakes, Fox Rhythm 34 forks, XTR double-sided clip-in pedals, SPD clip-ins, and then a flat on the other side. The bags at the back are the Ortlieb Back Rollers. They're the 3.1s. A lot of people talk about 2.1s. These are 3.1s, which is the mounting system at the back. The mount uses a frame which is here, which is then attached. So these are Thule racks. The Thule racks can work on full suspension bikes. Then I got a sleeping pad. Up front I've got my Naturehike Cloud Up 2. And then out front is the Thule Pack handlebar bag. Hydration wise, I'm going to a remote campsite with no water there. So I've got the metal canteen on the bike. I think it's about 1 litre, maybe 1.2 litres. I've then got the Osprey daylight backpack with a 3 litre bladder inside of it, with as much in there as I could get in, which is probably only 2.5 litres. And then I've got another 3 bottles of 600ml water in there, so another 2 litres, so about 5 litres of water altogether. This is a beautiful day. It's a bit hot. They always are out here, it seems. Yes, I remember this bit. Steep as hell. Because now I'm on the valley floor. I've got this sign that takes me one way to the Orchard campground to my right, and to my left is the main campground, which is where I've booked in. So this area has actually been used for a long time. This is the Marramarra Creek area that we're in. The Marramarra Creek itself is just off to my left, but if I turn around here, you can see that sign there that says the Smuggler's Track or Smuggler's Ridge. So what used to happen was people used to boat tobacco and alcohol up through the Hawkesbury up to this Marramarra Creek, because it was very quiet, very remote area, and then they would haul it up over this ridge and up into the back blocks of Sydney. But if you watch my other video where we've come down that ridge, they must have been tough people. That is a hard ridge to be able to get up. So this is home for this evening. This is the Naturehike Cloud Up 2. Yeah, it seems pretty nice. Isn't that a scene of domestic bliss? There's an Australian dunny in the background, and then there's all my cycling stuff hanging from a washing line in the foreground. Meanwhile, we've got a goanna who's decided he's going to move in here. So we are rocking a very compact burner on this trip, given to me by a really good friend of mine, and it is brilliant. I've just made a cup of coffee, so yeah, you can see it's a lovely configuration. It's got a nice wide top, and when it cools down, it all folds up upon itself, so it's very, very small. So what do I think of this? It's alright. It's not too bad. It's got a good flavour. It doesn't look like food, but yeah, it's alright. Slept pretty well last night. Went to bed about 9, woke up at 5, so that's pretty okay. It's 5:30 in the morning. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, probably a hot and sunny day. I'm trying to be quiet because the other people here are still sleeping. But yeah, looks good. Love this time of day, just before dawn. Sun comes up in about next 15-20 minutes. Just a beautiful time of day. I know these sort of cameras don't really show these hills properly, but this is properly hard work getting up out of here. Honestly, do not do this unless you are super fit or you've got a lighter bike. Doing it with a full set of camping gear, it can be done. I'll get it done today, no problem at all. But just be aware, if you're going to do something like this, it's tough. It's really steep. It's hard on your body, it's hard on your arms, it's hard on your legs. Yeah, I'm pushing and slipping backwards as I'm going up. It's pretty brutal. You turn a corner only to see more hill. I know what I'm going through. I've been up and down this hill a couple of times now, so it's fine for me. Just a word of warning though, if you're not expecting it, it can be pretty soul crushing when you turn these corners and find that, yeah, you just got exactly the same thing to do again. Well, that's the climb done, so now there's a bit more ups and downs, but really not very much. Most of it from here is pretty flat back to the car. So I'm gonna have a big rest, recover, and then head on back to the car. It's taken me, it was at 2-3 hours to climb out of Marramarra Creek, so it's pretty tough, but maybe that's just because I'm old and I'm fat and I'm slow, but I think it's pretty tough.